Hello and welcome back. Today I'll be talking about strings in JavaScript. Now, what is a string? Well, a string is typically a set of characters that we use to write things, but in computer terms, and in this specific instance JavaScript, a string represents text data, and the way that we encode that text data so that your computer can understand it is to use something called Unicode, which typically you won't have to deal with because it's all done in the background for you. So how do you define a text string? Okay, so let's begin by doing that. So let's say const my string equals, and we have a collection of words here, and let's simply log that out. And straight away we get an error. We get an error because when JavaScript looks at these words, all it sees is variable names. It doesn't know that this is actually a string that we're trying to give it. So the way we tell it that a string has started and ended is to put that in quotation marks. And there we have it. Not only that, but we can use single quotes, and introduced in ES6 we can use something called backticks. Now there might come a time where you want to use these special characters, by that I mean single quotes, double quotes or backticks within the string that you are defining. So for example, this string is defined using double quotes, and we also want to use double quotes within the sentence itself. So we might say this, for example. If we try to run that, it falls over because JavaScript doesn't really know where the sentence starts and begins. So we see here, well, the double quotes indicates that the sentence has begun. So we say bicycle, and it looks like it's ended here, and then there's a variable name, and then it looks like another set of characters has started here, and so it gets confused. So the way we do that is to escape the characters to tell JavaScript not to do anything special with it, and we escape that with a backslash. If we just save that, we can see it's worked. So the word knife is quoted. Now the backslash isn't the only special character that we have, escape characters that we have. We also have something called a new line sequence, which adds a new line. Strangely enough, we have tabs. There we see the tab there. We see character returns, which are typically used with a new line feed. Okay, you can see the output of that there. Characters are encoded using something called Unicode. So if we look at a character map and we look at the Latin alphabet, which is what we use typically in Western countries. Take this for example. Now normally you wouldn't have to know the Unicode for this, because you type in the letter A, but each and every character has its own equivalent Unicode value. So for example, here we have the capital letter A having a Unicode value of 0041, which we can write out here as backslash U0041. If we look at the output to this, we see, hey presto, a capital letter A. This works for all sorts of character sets, including very exotic types. So let's pick the Vai character set, which is a language spoken in West Africa, because I think it's very interesting because it has some pretty cool characters. And let's pick, for example, this one down here. It has a Unicode value of A563. So there you go. So remember to begin all your Unicode strings with a \u and then follow that with a code. So let's pick something else. Let's go up the tree. Okay, let's pick the letter Esh in Arabic. So the Unicode for this is 0634. Oopsie. 0634. And there we go. Fantastic. Now, quite often you want to use template strings. By that I mean you want to use actual values of variables within your string. So you might have a variable called temperature. So we'll say const temperature equals 40, and you might have a string that you want to use it in. Const out equals the let's use double quotes. The temperature is now, before ES6, this is what we would have to do, and then we log that out. And there you can see it's been outputted here, but the last two words, that is and 40, are almost well, there's no space between them. So in order to do that, and you need to remember that, you need to add a space here. Okay, but in ES6 you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about that. So all you would need to do is write out your sentence. So the temperature is temperature. Surround it with a backticks, and the way you tell JavaScript that this is actually a variable is to surround it with curly braces and add a $sign before the first curly brace. Fantastic. And there we have it. The other place where backticks are very useful is with multi-line strings. So if we have, well, let's just take this string for example. Now let's just modify it again, and actually let's just put a value in there, is 40. Okay, now if you wanted to add a new line character here, well, we would basically need to add a new line escape sequence, and we'd probably have to do that everywhere within a long sentence. But with backticks, there's no need for that. So if I take this out, add the backticks, okay, you see that it's output as it was before. Stop outputting this Unicode. We can simply add a carriage return, and there we go. We have a new line there without actually having to add an escape sequence. Okay, so lastly I want to talk about math with strings. So for example, if we said something like this, we had two strings, so we said 40 times 2. JavaScript is smart enough to know that we're probably trying to do something with a number, so it will convert this string into a number and then do the math. And that will work with most, if not all, mathematical operators as far as I'm aware. Let's try the divisor. Okay, that works fine. Let's try powers. Oh, no, that's not done like that. It's done like that. Yeah, okay. So the only thing it won't work with is with the addition sign. Because as far as JavaScript is aware, this is a string and you're simply concatenating a string with another string, because in JavaScript the addition symbol is used to concatenate two strings. So, and that's what we see here, 4040 instead of 80. The way we would get around that is slightly messy, but we would have to manually convert this to an integer using something called parse int. And there we have it. That's all for now. There will be a part 2 where I talk about string methods. Thank you and goodbye.